And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you again for joining today. Today is June 17, 2022. So we're back to our regular scheduled program. We had internet issues the whole week and continue to do so. And hope today we were able to have a live stream of sorts. Anyway, without further ado, let's discuss what the new things that's been happening this past week or so. So the top is Internet Explorer is farewell to everyone. Well, not to be so sad because obviously internet is has a replacement already, which is Edge. We'll be talking about that. Next is Tesla cars. With regards to to their vehicles being involved in accidents. Now, typically cars are typically involved in car crashes, but in this case, with regards to its autopilot feature, so it's getting more concerning and alarming as the period goes by with regards to how safe is Tesla vehicles. We'll talk about that. And good news for Disney Plus subscribers. Their streaming services has been growing significantly. So meaning, regardless of what people or even I consider what contents they make, people are they're making inroads in terms of capturing market, whether in United States, in Asia, or even in Europe. So they've been steadily growing. While on the other hand, you have Netflix, who for the very first time in several years and decades, that their subscription has been on the decline. So meaning Disney has a big opportunity here to catch up. How soon? We'll see. And next we'll be talking about obviously for our country, athletes are somewhat given an afterthought in terms of providing sufficient financial support or actual support at that matter to be able to give them the best chance of winning glory for our country here. What's interesting here that the government has constructed a facility to provide for athletes by providing them scholarship. Now, is this going to be a long-term solution or is just a band-aid to a bigger problem here? We'll talk about that. And lastly, the issue with USB Type C that Apple is vehemently against implementing it. It's just kind of ironic because if their lightning cable is the standard, then everyone should follow suit, but that's not the case. And even their laptops are even using Type C connection or Type A. Nowhere does it mention about using lightning cable. We'll talk about that if Type C can be the be all and end all for all our connectivity here. Anyway, so to start off, as mentioned, uh, Microsoft has been trying, well, not for trying, lack of trying to gain footprint in terms of having a significant market share in terms of web browsing capabilities, right? With the advent of Windows way back in the early 90s, they tried to introduce an app of a software, in the case of Internet Explorer, to partner up with your desktop. Obviously, this provide them a unique proposition, being able to solidify their position in their platform, in their OS, as well as web browsing when internet was just new at the time. Well, that didn't catch on to the mass public. I think at the time that you had Internet Explorer, you also had what do you call this? They also had Netscape, I think, for those who can still remember the name of the company. But years, decades later, you have other competitors here from Google's Chrome. You have Firefox, Opera, and whatnot here. And obviously, Internet Explorer even though it's embedded with the OS, Windows OS, people are I haven't heard anyone using Internet Explorer for the longest time, or even Edge at that matter. So we'll talk about the conclusion of that is Internet Explorer here. So according here to TheVerge.com, they mentioned that Internet Explorer will stop working soon. It has died after 26 years of being in the market. So meaning kudos for for Microsoft for pushing the software, and where people didn't want it, they keep on shoving it our face, and sad to say it had to go. But the thing here is Microsoft is not giving up, obviously, because having a foothold in the not streaming services, but in terms of providing web browsing services, it makes sense for them to connect it, or to be able to provide connectivity to your platform, whether it's in your PC or in your laptop, to be able to browse easily by using their the latest one is the Microsoft Edge. Now, I tend not to use it. I'm not in favor of that, but it is what it is here. But or let's focus on the Internet Explorer here. So, as mentioned in the article, so IE, as mentioned, Internet Explorer is now being retired after 27 years. So the aging web browser is being sunset in favor of Microsoft Edge, which means support for the browser being officially withdrawn, IE 11 as of today. Now, obviously, many of the previous users, typically many companies have been relying on using older technology, and in this case, using only primary support with IE installed. Obviously, other companies has to look for other browsers that's compatible with, in the case of uh, connecting to their website or using gaining access here. Now, for the rest of us, which is the consumer, not much changes. So usage of Internet Explorer has plummeted, obviously. Uh, IE has less than 0.5% of overall browser market share, which is kind of disappointing, because obviously, if you're one of the pioneers of providing web browsing in the market, one should think that they should have a dominant marketplace here. Think of how Nokia used to be the dominant market force in smartphone maker, which they squandered it, let other players like Apple and even Samsung take over here. Now, on the other hand, Microsoft has been trying to stop people from using IE for years now, obviously. The company previously labeled it a compatibility solution rather than a browser that businesses should actively be using. Now, the famous logo, as you can see here, is synonymous with the browser that is being incorporated in your Microsoft Office here. So Microsoft will now start rolling out new prompt over the coming months that redirect those still using IE to use Microsoft Edge, assuming you're using Edge. Internet Explorer will permanently disable as part of the Futures Windows update, which is, I have no problem with, because at the end of the day, if the market dictates that they're not using because you're not making a compelling case, being user friendly, or integration of different apps of many features that other browsers has already provided, and by then it's already too late for Microsoft to even make a dent in the market share here. Now, what's interesting, many businesses have already shifted from using IE to Microsoft Edge for web apps and sites that are that are so old that still require IE. Anyway, Microsoft created the IE mode for Edge way back in 2019, and it supports older ActiveX controls that many legacy sites still use. And maybe for those websites, they need to update it and be more relevant in current times here. Anyway, so technically, Internet Explorer will live on through this particular mode in Edge, so people can still use it if you should chose if you so choose to do it. And according to Microsoft's message, the future of Internet Explorer is in Microsoft Edge. They mentioned that IE has been retired and is no longer supported If any site you visit needs Internet Explorer, you can just reload it with IE mode on Microsoft Edge. Select continue to get started with Microsoft Edge, the fast and secure browser built for Windows. Now, obviously, they want to make it easier for Windows users here, but there's been a lot of issues that's been prominent throughout the years. That's why people have been apprehensive using it, and the fact that they are bundling it once you purchase the software, which has already caused a lot of issue with regards to the antitrust case, and not just in the US but as well as in the European Commission, that bundling them could be considered as a monopolistic act, trying to control the market so that people will browse there, and obviously they have the search engine Bing, so it solidifies their position. And then you have the gaming division, which is Microsoft's Xbox with cloud services and everything. So you can start to see what Microsoft is trying to do with varying levels of success, but nonetheless they're still trying because they're doing really well, considering with all their faults to begin with. Anyway, so goodbye for now, and we'll see what happens to Edge in the future. Anyway, continuing. Yeah, speaking of safety, the issue that I've been being vocal with regards to how Tesla vehicles are considered a disaster waiting to happen in terms of its reliance on technology, which is one thing, but the fact that their technology is not yet 100% considered fully autonomous, and then marketing it as a fully autonomous, or using the keyword autopilot as a feature, can have mixed message, or mixed message to the consumers here. And in the case here, according to CNBC.com, they mentioned that the US safety agency tells Tesla accounts for most driver assist crashes. And the keyword that they use here is driver assist, but in terms of marketing of how Tesla markets their product or their vehicle, it's considered it's considered autopilot. And obviously there's a different connotation when you say a vehicle can assist you in terms of your driving. You have to still be in control, as to if it's considered autopilot, meaning there's no assistance from the users themselves. But in this message, or in this article, they go on to mention, but warns that the data lacks context. And obviously with data, you have to put context behind it to be able to make sense of what the data is. So let's take a closer look here. So what's interesting, led by Tesla, auto companies have reported nearly 400 crashes involving advanced driver assist systems, according to the federal data released. And then the federal safety officials stress that the data is not meant to indicate whether one system is safer than the other. I think the whole point is the system is not yet 100% safe. And I think that's the message we need to get the message across to everyone, so that everyone is aware and to be responsible and be careful and not take it for granted, thinking that it is one thing that, when in reality it is not. It also mentions here that the data is meant to be a guide to quickly identify potential defect trends and assist in determining how much systems are affecting the safety of the vehicles. Well, that can be more true, because obviously if it's called a driver as, I have no problem that being marketed as that, because people on roads, especially in highways, assuming that they could do whatever they want, message, chat on the phone, text, even sleep while driving in a highway, can be irresponsible and could lead to disastrous crash. And the question is, will not only will the individual be held liable, will the company who tries to promote that feature, which they know when they invented that technology, can be misused for whatever purposes here. And obviously people always tries to push the limit of what technology can and cannot do here. And as you can see here in the photo, and it's not a very promising sight if you're involved in a car crash, that given all intents and purposes, especially cars or vehicles that are driving at very high speed, no matter how safe the vehicle is, whether through a car test making it more safer than cars in the past. But speed will always trump in the end. And if you drive a very fast vehicle, it's much harder for them to stop immediately. Takes more pavement roads to be able to stop at certain distances. And that's a ungodly side that no one wants to be part of, let alone be included in that photo there. Now, what's interesting, Tesla vehicles have been accounted for nearly 70% of the reported crashes involving driver assist system, which is pretty significant, pretty high if you look at the data here. Now, officials is giving warning the data is incomplete, which is not meant to indicate that the car maker's system might be the safest. Actually, my concern is the system safe? That's the whole point. Whether which system is better or worse, the fact that there's a high rate of crashes because of reliance on technology is one thing. I think I remember years back when people started using the what do you call this? When in I forgot what do they call it? When you can I don't know, you can use this autopilot features of sorts when driving in a express highway. When you're in a straight line, let the machine control it on a straight line. But obviously outside of that, changing lanes or making maneuvers, it's still incumbent for the drivers to pay attention in the road conditions here. But obviously, as better technology has been trying to be introduced, more and more features are incorporated, whether that's safe or not, which is the whole point here. And according to the NHTSA, or National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the first of its kind data doesn't yet have proper context. It's only meant to be a guide to quickly identify potential defects, trends, and help determine whether the systems are improving the systems of the vehicle. And again, I have nothing against with providing more context to the data, but at the end of the day, will the system provide better safety, higher safety, or make it more not safe to the vehicle, to the driver, and even to the pedestrian here? And obviously, our false sense of complacency can be a detriment if we think that the machine can do everything that a human can do. Could be misconstrued, and could lead to disastrous consequences here. Now, Tesla represented almost 300 accidents involving in advanced driver assist systems since the companies were required to start reporting the incidents a year ago. This is just a year ago. Imagine how many more incidents has been cropping up even before. If government doesn't intervene, obviously, uh, Tesla and other companies will not provide information willingly. Obviously, this will be detrimental to their bottom line there. And what's interesting, that's out of 392 crashes reportedly. There are 11 automakers and one supplier mentioned in this data. Honda was second with 90 reported accidents, followed by Subaru at 10. You had Ford Motor at 5. Excuse me. All other companies reported 4 fewer accidents. Now, obviously, accidents could be more. That's not being reported properly. So the estimation could be considered as too low here. But again, the concern is how safe is your vehicles and what are the companies doing here. Obviously, for Elon Musk, the goal is to sell as many cars as possible, but at what cost? The safety. The one side is the software aspect. The other one is the hardware component, meaning is the car's sound. And based on the many recalls that Tesla is encountering, there's a lot of headache, room for improvement. And the concern is, if you're the one buying the vehicle, will you be the one of the unlucky ones who will be in that accident in the future? I don't want to be caught red-handed in that vehicle unless the company can provide data that their vehicle is 100% proof if managed properly here. Anyway, we'll see what Tesla does here. Excuse me. Continuing with our discussion on Disney. So in terms of streaming services, what's interesting, Disney Plus has been making a lot of headway in terms of how their market share has been growing steadily over the past few years. So whether you agree or not in terms of their strategy, creating a plethora of, MCU TV series, which, to varying degrees of success. And then you have Star Wars. Obviously creating content is paramount to entice more viewers to subscribe to their platform. And I think it seems to be working and growing at the same time. So according to techtimes.com, Disney Plus is now available in 50 countries worldwide. Streaming services continues to expand. So meaning, grabbing market share over the next few years is very important, and adding more money to provide content, not just the backlog of catalogs that they have, but the ongoing ones and the future that they're going to release is important for their not just survival but for dominance in trying to reach or retake, not retake, but supplant Netflix as the number one streaming services in the world. So the series of launches follow the arrival of the streaming services in South Africa last May and across North America and West Asia way back early June. So Disney Plus is set to launch in Israel later this month, or actually yesterday, as of this recording, making the streaming services available in 60 countries across Africa, West Asia, and as well as Europe. And Netflix is the only streaming services that is available in more than 190 countries. But Disney Plus is slowly catching up. And obviously, with the pandemic, Disney has to find a new alternative of being able to release their films, provide content to capture new market here. And obviously, I think, even though I don't like the contents that they're releasing, but it gets the job done. And as more and more countries are being able to access their streaming service and pay a fee for their content, whether it's old, current, and sometime in the future, obviously there's a lot of Disney fans out there, and the fact that they bought franchises from the MCU all the way to the Star Wars franchise and many more, can be appetizing or enticing for many subscribers here. And what's interesting in the article, Disney Plus currently has more than 87 million. Now, obviously, it's nowhere close to the 200 million subscribers of Netflix, but they're making a lot of headway from where they started just a few years back, a year ago, to where they are today. It's pretty remarkable. And according to Walt Disney's company, during its Q2 earnings report, that in the United States and Canada alone, the streaming services has already 44 million. So the bulk of their subscribers are in the North America's region, and the rest are scattered all over. So meaning they're making significant inroads in terms of gaining subscribers and market share as well. And what's interesting, that Disney revealed that it's earning more per Disney Plus subscriber than it had previously did. The average monthly revenue per paid subscribers was $6, but as of early 2022, it's now increased slightly to $6.32. So question is, will they increase the price sometime in the future, similar to how Netflix has changed its strategy here? Anyway, the company said it's because of an increase in retail pricing and lower mix of wholesale subscribers here. Now, in the United States, the monthly subscription is around $8, so that's pretty significant. But I think you bundle it with other products that Disney have. You have ESPN, which they own, and you have ABC as well. Could be interesting here. So Disney Plus is offering a bundle if you're in the United States. You get Hulu, ESPN, what's this? ESPNS Plus for $14, which is $8 cheaper than subscribe to all three separately. So again, trying to convince you that if you like sports, which I do, but I tend not to watch all of those sports, so it depends on the cycle, whether it's basketball, So the basketball just recently concluded. Then you have baseball, you have football and soccer and so forth here. So meaning kudos for Disney for making inroads in the streaming services. Now, hopefully they can produce more quality films, more quality series. Like I love the Mandalorian, but the Boba Fett series not so much to my liking. So I don't know. I think it's getting to a point where Disney content has become more saturated in terms of releasing films, tied up with releasing TV series and then releasing more films. So it gets tiring after a while. But I don't know. I could be on the minority one in terms of getting too fed up with Disney content that they're sharing. Anyway, next some local news. So here's an interesting aspect with regards to being an athlete here in our country. It's very difficult. I mean, the fact that government support is lackluster at best, and obviously having the financial support and not only the moral support, it's important to be able to focus on the task at hand. And obviously, competing in competitions not just locally but also internationally needs a lot of resources here. And training is one of the key aspects that not every athlete needs to be able to do. And the government has created recently or finished creating the National Academy of Sports for student athlete scholars here. So according to philstar.com, so it's very promising what the government has offered here, but I still have my apprehensions because at the end of the day, the government, in terms of prioritizing sports as the primary with the pandemic, based on the data that was shown earlier this year, they primarily focus on infrastructure rather than health, let alone sports to be at the top of their priority. But obviously, this is a remarkable improvement. Offering better facility is one thing, but we need better people managing the the program, as well as the coaches who will train some of our best athletes here. And obviously recruiting them is the key here. It's not enough that you provide we have a facility here, everyone just apply here. At the end of the day, you need some coaxing of some of our best athletes or top athletes in our country, whether it's in the north, south of our region here, whether it's Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And obviously, gaining access will not be easy, and how our government approaches it will be the key to our future success. Now, according to the article, the National Academy of Sports, or NAS, has extended application period for incoming grade 7 and 8 student athletes who are into any of the 8 Olympic sports that are currently the focus of the institution. So they're looking at young athletes to not to say promote, but to grow, so that they are primed for active competition sometime in the future. So academically competent and athletically talented natural born Filipino youth under aquatics, so that's swimming. I don't know if we can win swimming. We need to be really tall and athletic to be able to. You have athletics. I think we have a good chance on that. Badminton is another, and gymnastics is another. Judo, yes, but it's not. I don't know if it's that popular here in the country. Table tennis is another. Taekwondo and weightlifting. Now you may notice all of those sports involves individual sports, not so much team sports. Maybe with the exception of badminton, obviously you can partner up. Gymnastics too, but it's typically a individual sport. So I noticed boxing is not in the list. I don't know if they don't want to support that sport, but I think having Manny Pacquiao, Donaire as an example, if we can groom the next one, would be nice, and bring more golds to our nation. And obviously weightlifting has brought us back to the fold of winning the first ever gold, but we need to capitalize on it. And obviously facility is one thing, but I think for the longevity, sustainability of our sports program, we need continuous support rather than just investing on facilities here, because if no one's managing it properly, obviously facilities can decay over time. And I'd rather have that we have continuous support rather than just the initial outlay of cash and then that's it. Now, according to the Education Secretary Leonor Briones mentions, we are calling our promising student athletes to study here at the National Academy of Sports to help our country and at a higher level of regional worldwide sporting events. Now, stating that is one thing, but at the end of the year, still have to recruit those people nationwide wherever they are, because they're not coming to your doorsteps here, whether it's for patriotic purposes and bringing glory to our country. At the end of the day, there has to be some monetary rewards here in terms of not just education but future. You're investing 4 years, 8 years of your life, in terms of preparing to win a sports, let alone being able to win a medal to your country here. And obviously, the scholarships could be a gateway for many students that are financially strapped. But again, you have to be at the top of your field to be able to utilize this amenities, right? Free tuition fee and tuition board. But again, they mentioned that the training center will be located is in New Clark City in Tarlac. So if you're in the region, something you might want to consider. But again, if you live far away from the facility, that would be a daunting task. Convincing those athletes or students to move location will be, unless you move the entire family, that's another. So I don't know how they're supposed to tackle this, but they need to focus on this one so that we can bring more glory to our country here in our future. Anyway, for our last story, we were talking about how USB has been the common norm for all our devices here, and yet Apple has been against with shifting to it, even though their laptops only uses Type C, not Lightning cable for data transfer, which obviously, which one is the better product here? And obviously, the European Commission or the European Union has been requiring major companies to use the USB Type-C platform for all products moving forward, so that it does not create more waste unnecessarily. Now, obviously, that's well and good for intense purposes, but obviously there are still downsides that needs to be ironed out here. So according here to AndroidAuthority.com, it's not the USB-C port, it's what you do with it that counts. Now, not all Type-C cables are created equal here. That's the thing that everyone needs to understand. And making it standardized is another thing here. And obviously, many of our Type-C that you use from older device to newer device, does it have power delivery? Does it have is it compatible with certain type of connection? Which is Type A, USB Type A, Type C Gen 2, 2.2, Gen 1, Gen 2, and so forth. So there's still different variation, even though you're considering having a USB Type C as your main connection here. Now, what's interesting, the European Union requires that gadgets charge exclusive via USB-C. Now, obviously, one of the advantages of using a Type-C cable is, it doesn't have to be rocket scientist once you plug it in. Doesn't matter if it's upside down or vice versa. It's the same, right? So they want it to be implemented by 2024. It's a welcome move in many corners. And obviously, this affects Apple in particular, which is very vehement against it. But in their laptops, they use Type-C in this case. But here's the thing. So mandating Type-C ports doesn't solve the big problem, which is the standard one. One cable for everything doesn't always work well in practice. So what do I mean? So there are different types of USB-C. So here's an example. You have an USB Type-C headphones only. Only works in your phone, tablet, or laptop that supports its USB audio. Okay. Another is likewise is for Ethernet and DisplayPort monitor supports over USB. Then you also have even data transfer speeds are dependent on the USB port rating. So meaning you have USB 3.2 Gen 1, you also have Gen 2 and Gen 4, and the Holy Grail Thunderbolt 4, which is a very expensive cable. I think around 2,000, 3,000 pesos. So it's not cheap. So meaning you may need the right cable to maximize the data and power transfer. And even my uh portable SSD that I'm hoping to review, so stay tuned for that one in the future. Anyway, even my portable external SSD is using a USB Type C, but it has high capacity transfer and writing speed. But if you don't have the cable to maximize it, then you're missing a lot of its usability or its features as mentioned. So the question here is, even though Type C is the way of the future, the standard, similar to how the HDMI cable is still not yet unified in a sense, because there are different types of HDMI cable. So depending on the usage, so can be tricky. So if you're not well versed in that aspects, can be problematic here. So here's an example of the different types of Type C. So you have a USB Type C such as an Instant 360 or Go 2 that only charge from Type C to Type A rather than Type C to Type C. So meaning the Type A is the square, or the heck is my square? Yeah, like this one. So this is what you consider a Type A, right? The traditional one, and the Type C is on the other one, which is, it's on both sides here. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway. So again, we still have, until all of the device that we use phases out the use of micro USB, mini USB, or even the Type A. We're still stuck in some sort of a limbo wherein you have to have multiple cables for your device. I would love it one day that we have one cable to rule them all, not just for our devices but for our charging ports, because when you buy your charging adapter, you have to take a look if does it have Type C connectivity, does it have Type A. In my case, I have both, just to make sure that I don't have any problems moving forward. But hopefully in the future, that not just the devices but our charging breaks, all our devices will rely on Type C, and it should be standardized, so that making it easier for us. And obviously, poor implementation of Type C USB-C accessories is another concern. And obviously, if that doesn't is not addressed sooner, then again, the purpose of not wasting our resources, the wastage of those cables is the same as if what Apple is doing with their cables, which has technically become obsolete if you think about it, compared to the capability of the Type C here. So hopefully, this can be settled, sometime in the future, sooner rather than later. Anyway, that concludes our discussion for today. Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to leave your questions down below and I'll try to get back to you. As always, thanks for watching again. Come back again on Friday for more business news live, or business focus live here. Anyway, thank you for supporting the channel. Continue supporting the channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so spread the word, share the content, and check out our other videos as well. And as always, thank you. See you in the next one. Take care.